I've been playing Minecraft for nearly 15 years now. The thing that keeps me coming back is creating entire worlds. And after surviving nearly 3 years in this same hardcore world, I've taken on a project to transform a massive region of my world, consuming more than 10 biomes. Hey folks, fWhip here, and today is the second round of building this landscape. We've already cleared out an entire forest biome, then started building up the ridgeline of dirt to raise above the default terrain. To add in a little more height to this project, I started building out some larger rocks to move up at a quicker rate. Of course, this plain land is kind of boring, so I added in 2 rivers to get started that will help us shape the landscape even further. Now again, to change things up, I want a big mountain range sprawling across the top, which turned this empty space into this big mountain popping out of nowhere. And then I spent a few more minutes placing a few handfuls of dirt, and our landscape project currently looks a little like this, bringing us to present day, where I've placed nearly 35,000 blocks to build the landscape. Today, I want to more than double the size of it. If you'd like to see this project continue, please subscribe, as each new subscriber adds 25 blocks to this build, and leave a like. I'll add another 10 blocks per like on this episode. With the terrain that I've already created, I also created a pretty big problem down below. So before we get too far into this landscape, I need to dig up some more dirt. And before that, I will admit I've been a little bit lazy on repairing my tools, so I spent about 20 minutes at the Enderman farm repairing up every single shovel I own. Finally, we get on to breaking blocks, and I started with clearing out the trees around the area to prevent any more flying UFO trees from staying behind and being even more annoying to gather up later on. Then we get into the dirt grind. Almost 9 shulker boxes of dirt are being filled up from underneath the custom terrain to then move these boxes of dirt up into the sky, floating above and further, creating even more darkness and pain that I'm gonna have to deal with doing this again in the future. And for some reason, I was inspired to clear out even more of the remaining trees just to get rid of the rest of those, as they're gonna be really annoying. Finally, we have a pretty big safe space here underneath the terrain, and so many boxes of dirt over here, along with quite a few boxes of logs and just random junk. And of course, back to having a few more dead shovels, which means it's time to get into placing some blocks instead of digging them out of the earth. So I set up a new guideline and started messing with some new ideas for the landscape and a smaller hill type thing towards the front. After that, I took a quick break to go back to the city, and this happened. No! You murdered them! Those are gonna be the villagers that inhabited the city! How could you kill those? Well, I guess I can finish decorating that floor now. To move on from the sadness of losing my villagers, like most people, I avoided the problem and dug back into my work to hopefully forget about the loss. And after staring at our terrain for a while now, I realized that I actually don't really like what I created originally. It's just too busy to look at from far away. So to fix it, I decided to merge some of the rocks together into larger rocks, and then also open up more of the green space instead of smaller rocks and smaller patches of moss and dirt. This is just a little cleaner. With that fixed up, we can get back into the new mound I started before our villager mishap. I don't want the new terrain to just be a flat line going up as we go back, and this mound can help bring in a little bit more variation, with it being a touch taller and then dipping down before reaching up into our highland biome, which might be a little easier to see here as I patch a good chunk of the outside face. Opening up more space along the river, I'm also moving further east to extend the terrain out even more, as it's meant to cover a huge space. And here we can see a new section of the smooth slope reaching towards the sky. More guidelines in place to help keep the slope more natural. I placed in a ton of dirt and a few rocks for some fun variety. Just like this time lapse will hopefully be a little nicer to view with a little variety in footage. So wow, I'm slowing the pace down here. I'm really slowly placing some dirt blocks in. Oh my gosh, it's so much easier to watch. Upriver, I created a new spider web of sorts out of our dirt blocks and started to add in a few more rocks to relate a bit back to what we were doing originally, as the terrain wasn't matching too well until I ran out of blocks and had to refill. How did he just... Boys, this is my stuff. About 8 hours into this video already, and check out how much we've been able to extend the terrain. We still have a lot more dirt left over and a decent amount of moss, so I continued placing dirt to cover even more of the land below in eternal darkness, and I also started adding in the moss on top to stop our grass blocks from growing up further, but we'll actually touch on that a little more later on. Filling up on a few more blocks and flying back to our new additions, you guessed it, I placed in even more dirt. Like a lot more dirt here. Like a like a lot of dirt. No joke, I've placed in so much dirt for this that we've almost run out of dirt again within our shulker storage. As of today, I've now placed a total of 60,900 blocks on the train, meaning I'm actually catching up with our challenge pretty quickly here, as I just need to reach about 140,000 blocks right now. But it's still ongoing, so that might be a little higher right now. Now, when we started this project, my brain said, let's make it really challenging and unique and use our path block here for this near golden color for the main terrain block throughout this place. But I've been thinking on this build, and honestly, it's really gonna limit what we're able to do. Oh my gosh, I missed a block. Patch it. With our grass block, as I'm going to revert that rule of using path block and dirt and everything, and I think we're just gonna spread the grass around everywhere up here, as I think it'll give a little more variety of blocks we can use to texture and make everything look super nice. And then we can still have some dirt zones underneath the forest, and that'll make that pop even more. For now, we do need to return underneath the train to gather up more dirt, as well, I'm nearly out again. So I set off with my 3 non-silk touch shovels to fill up hopefully 12 shulker boxes of dirt again, so I can easily continue on with the landscape above for a few more hours before running out, which was going pretty well. Until, of course, the tool durability wore down, and I still have a lot more to gather up, so a quick trip back home to jump into the end dimension and repair up the shovels over at my Enderman farm, and then be able to jump back into work pretty quickly. Back onto the mountain, I continued the grind, removing dirt all the way out to the lake and clearing up even the side of the mountain. I've found a problem. Chickens. Chickens lay eggs. Zombies pick up the eggs, and then they never despawn, and they're always down there, and it's making it terrible underground. So I've got a solution, which led into a chicken hunt underneath the terrain to kill all of the chickens down there, as I've just had hordes of zombies attacking me, all holding eggs as if it's like their family banners. Crisis averted, and the final boxes were filled up, which means we can pick them all up and move back above the train to drop them off with the rest of our junk. But we're starting to get pretty close here to where I gathered up all of the leaves for our Giga Tree over there, and I realized there's just a bunch of shulkers sitting here. How I just left all of this here. How did I just leave all of this? I was just like, I'm done. I can't be bothered. Okay, I'm running these back home first. Well, maybe I get rid of this too. I already dropped things off once, and that was so much bigger than I expected. We did get a ton of rooted dirt that was just sitting here waiting to be collected, though. That is very nice to have that removed. But I'm gonna kind of miss it. It's been there for so long. That's where we got everything to build our tree. We have been staring at dirt for quite a while now, and I need a little bit of a break. Last episode, we built a new street in the city, and some people left some awesome ideas for little details that we can add in to just spice things up, like the lava here inside of our brewing vats, which will add a little bubbling sound effect as we walk by. The next idea was actually out of the city, and I wish I had thought of this sooner. I do a lot of stripping and chopping in my lumber mill, and someone left the idea to add a beacon nearby with haste 2 to speed up the process. And I decided to hide this underground, as I don't like the look of beacon beams most of the time in my world, so I hooked up a little piston door to open and close, revealing the beam or hiding it away. So we have this little log pile right here. Coming inside, we can flip the lever, pulls back the log, and we have our haste 2 beacon. And then we can just hide it back away. Back over to the terrain now. I got back to work on the next stage, which follows up from an earlier decision to bring in grass blocks, as I need to now remove all of the path blocks. Using my hoe, I worked around the entire terrain, turning the path blocks into farmland, as farmland without water or a crop planted into it will eventually turn back into dirt. This way, I didn't need to worry about breaking and replacing everything. I could just turn my brain off and run around right-clicking everything. A little over an hour later, and all of our path blocks are now gone. So I started to seed in a few grass blocks to let them naturally start spreading around the train. I do want some dirt patches we'll add in under trees and things like that, but we can bring those back in ourselves later. To kill some time for grass growth, I spent another 30 minutes or so placing in another few inventories of dirt. Now we are fully caught up to present day with a little bit of a block update for this project. I have placed 66,120 blocks roughly now. That's how many shulkers we've cleared worth of blocks. The challenge for this project still continues for every video that I post on it, so subscribe to add another 25 blocks to the count that I owe, which is currently just over 150,000. So we are over a third of the way done. I still have so many boxes of dirt left here from our last gathering session, so I think it's time that we just keep placing in a bunch. Every single time we're working on this project, my goal is to kind of finish a view from a certain angle, and this is kind of the one I'm working on. If we drop our FOV to like here-ish, so I want to extend that down probably to there, and then I would love to spend more time working on those mountains in the back. Which means the existing dirt outline I have can be filled in to finish off that point as we start to level off into a flatter area up top. And this here is starting to look pretty good. We are up to Y123, meaning we're catching up to what the mountains are going up to. We're like halfway up to the top. But I've been thinking a little bit. I want to create a large mountain lake out here, and well, we've got swamp biome over there, and swamp biome watercolor, yeah, we don't want that. So let's take some dirt out here and extend out our river to plan that out before it's too late and we get stuck going into the swamp biome. There's this weird little pocket of oak biome back in here that I've come out to, and I think we can use that little forest, and that should honestly do the trick. I did try creating a bit more of a curved effect with this, and this is my first time looking at it. For randomly placing that in, ooh, that's a pretty good curve for a river. We'll take it. Now, speaking of mountain rivers, over here we have the mountain range, and we have this kind of frozen river coming in, and I'm realizing that's probably going to freeze over because mountain biome there. Yeah, that's a future foot problem. But I would like to also extend this river coming back out here a bit further, and it's going to go into its own smaller lake because I hate figuring out how to make rivers and things disappear into the mountains. So we're gonna just do a little lake back here that'll kind of do its own thing. I got the baseline in place for the second mountain river and decided to just build out the banks and add in the water, bone mealing the base to prevent a lot of that water from turning into ice as we're pretty far up in the sky now. I am really happy with how this has turned out so far. I do have a small problem though. Well, two problems. One, my elytra is pretty busted. Two, I'm also almost out of rockets. So before it gets to be a little too late for it, oh, I missed path blocks. I'll fix that after. But let's head back to our first mountain here. Grab a little bit of gunpowder from inside. Quick trip back home where things are so laggy as it's all loading in. Oh, wow. And we can jump into the sugarcane farm. Make a little paper, make a ton of rockets. That'll do the trick for now. Next up, a quick trip down into the nether to visit the Wither Skeleton Farm. I absolutely love having this farm. Oh, it's a little absurd, but there we go, all fixed up. Before I jump back over to the landscape project, I want to grab a few more shulker boxes of stone to be able to work with. And we're finally down to this being the last wall of stone. We've emptied all of these. Taking some of that stone, I'm working in a few new guidelines for this first mountain peak section by placing in some tall pillars of stone so I can get a very general idea of how tall this will be and kind of the shape out of it too. Even with just these pillars in place, you can start to visualize how tall this mountain is gonna be. We'll get back to that in a moment here, but first and foremost, I want to come along and work our riverbank up a little bit further here so that we can have some more space to decorate with as we're moving throughout. Now, this part's probably gonna come back a little bit farther, and I'll probably just keep going with the guideline idea here to work this in. Now, this pillar is very, very close, so we're only gonna have maybe a block or two of dirt along here, and the stone can kind of just work its way up in a flatter face to the top. And those rough guidelines we put in place are just that, they're just guidelines. So I'm gonna actually raise it up another few blocks because I think it'll make more sense. First half of the valley is starting to look a lot better on the shape, especially when we come over here where the first stone lines are going in place. Before I overcommit to all this, I do want to figure out how we're connecting these guys all the way up to the top here. We'll have the stone coming out to here, maybe climbing up a few more blocks and then dropping back back down. Just another 2 or 3 blocks should do. And then where this starts to come down, we can make it look a little bit smoother here by using some of our moss. Send this back a few blocks and then start working it upwards. And once it starts getting a little too steep, then we just bring our stone back in and send this all the way up to our highest point. I am quite literally just making this up as I go and placing in a bunch of blocks and hoping that it works out. So I got like a general idea in mind, but we're just doing it one line at a time. I spent another 2 hours carefully adding in guidelines to get this to be something I am excited about turning into a new mountain. Okay, I got a little distracted here filling out this face a bit more, as I really hated how it looked, especially from over here. It was just kind of like, woo, way out there. So this rock coming down there, I like that a lot more. The guidelines are really helping to bring this to life, and I'm very, very happy about it. It is just a lot more block placing to actually get it put together. So I think like everything else I'm doing with terraforming here is the similar philosophy of pick a small portion of it and then we just keep going, and I just keep placing stone blocks. Somehow I thought this would be like a little side project of a mountain to build in this episode, just like a little guy, you know? And here I am 6 hours into this build and still going for it, trying to finish off at least the front faces of this mountain. Just came back to refill on materials, and it's looking pretty good. Still definitely some open spaces that need to be filled in, but for the top points of the mountain, I really like how the peaks are looking. We are all the way up into the clouds too, which is so fun. Just gotta keep placing blocks in, and eventually it's gonna be finished. Enough complaining, I've got blocks to place. I've been working on this the entire day today, so I put in another 90 minutes of work into this to get all the way to the finish line, filling in all of the gaps I still had left over, and then I decided to jump off my computer for a little while and just take a break. But take a look at this mountain. It is a nice mountain. You might even say it rocks. Sorry, no need to grovel at that one. That's the only pun I'll go with. Or will it be? Sorry. Do you ever get so attached into a build that you kind of lose track of time and everything that you're supposed to be doing? Well, I completely forgot something super important. We need to plant a field. That's looking pretty good back there though, but we gotta head on home. With every episode in this hardcore world, I plant a new field as I am obsessed with farmland. Apparently, living out my true fantasy as Farmer fWhip today, we are adding in a new pitcher pod field right behind my starter base to fill the random open spot and add in something useful to come back to. Just like if you enjoy my videos and get some joy out of watching them, please leave a like, as it brings me a lot of joy to see that number go up. And consider subscribing if you haven't already. And there we have it, a brand new pitcher pod field right here at home. I was always trying to think of what I want to include up here, and another building just didn't seem right. So I think we're just going to do a few decorative fields and maybe some smaller trees, because I didn't want a building to really take away from the trunk of the tree. A quick update on the shulker mess here. The mountain alone took 4 shulker boxes of dirt, 2 shulker boxes here of moss with almost a third, and 3 almost a 4th shulker of stone, which is another 9 shulker boxes cleared already. And we got more to go here. Okay, so I meant to just place in dirt here, but my brain is apparently still on mountain mode, so I guess I accidentally started to build another mountain. I really meant to focus down here, but my brain really went put blocks up here, place up stuff. I'm losing it. I'm placed so many blocks here, so my brain's turning into mush. I did place all this dirt in at least, and I've got this line out over here where I want to add in some more. I'm definitely in the phase where I just want to like keep going to get all this done, but we are creating such a dark patch under there. It's not good. But up here on top, things are looking so good. And I basically spawn proofed it because there's a million zombies underneath, so they're not spawning up here. It's fantastic. Also, a little side note here, I'm messing around with a new water texture because the noise in it was just so much. Oh man, that's gonna turn to ice. So I'm curious what you all think. I basically made it a little bit darker and then really toned down a lot of the lighter spots. I kind of love it. But regardless, I've got a lot more blocks of dirt to place in to fill all of this space. Okay, so if you look at this from like right here, it's fully completed going all the way back. Yep, all the dirt, very filled in. Yeah, very so filled in. We just have to keep looking at that from that one very specific angle, and then I don't have to do the rest of this. No, I picked this project myself. I'm having fun. Remember, I did this to me. I'm having so much fun doing this. Yeah. Now I just gotta go through and fill in all of these lines, and then it'll all be done. Now we can look at this from any angle that is, well, not the back of the build, and it's starting to look pretty good. I got a few more ideas for the rock up here, but underneath, oh my gosh, this is terrifying in here. We at least have the same space over here, but man, it is turning it's so bad. But wow, I love the look of that valley with the sun setting down it. Oh, so good. I didn't plan to do that today. I don't know why I'm working up there. I was supposed to be working that way, but I wanted to do that, so we're doing that. I like the idea of this being like an erosion channel, so we can bring ourselves out this way just a little bit further and start another rock, which won't be quite as tall as that guy here. Probably up to about this height, but we'll have it coming forward a little bit farther down to like here-ish, as it'll kind of come to a little bit of a point here. I'm really just making this all up as we go, but I do want it to start to curve its way around here so we can use this to push the terrain farther back this direction. For now, we'll go to like here-ish. My hope was to have the moss on top like we've been doing, and this is a little bit wider than I originally intended, so it should be okay here. But I wanted there not only to be an upward direction of the moss going from there up like this, but also upward from down there up into the mountain itself. Might be a little complicated, so let me throw some of these blocks in. After the change of pace and talking through my ideas a little bit more in the last episode, I'm really trying to bring that into this and future episodes, as y'all seem to enjoy it a lot. But sometimes with these large repetitive projects, it's difficult to talk through each step, as I need to just repeat the process over and over so many times. I am liking how this mountain is sloping upwards, but I want to focus on our non-existent dirt hilly region here with this new line of dirt that I've created, as I'm trying to curve it up a little bit closer to the mountain that we have created, but we're gonna probably end it somewhere back in there. If you are interested in doing something stupid like this project like I'm doing right here, the biggest thing I can recommend is these guidelines. They just, I'm gonna say it over and over again, but man, they help out so much. Okay, we've come up pretty high now, which is okay, as this is eventually gonna be keep going upwards and upwards. Probably, what are we at here? 141? Halfway almost to world height, minus 40 blocks. So that'll come out to here-ish, as that rock face will come around, and then we'll have a lot more stepping up higher. That was a lot. Oh my gosh, that was so much dirt. I think my inventory was full. What I wanted to do from here as well is, this is supposed to be our riverbed. It needs to really be taken into account when we're looking at creating all of these major hill sections, as they all kind of need to revolve around where the water is eroding and bringing the landscape downwards. So my thought here is we can have that line kind of going up and reaching into there. This line is also going to come around a little bit farther in the back and eventually come up to maybe up there or something. New, I guess, ridge lines are now in place, and that looks like a really good shape for this mountain. I'm pretty happy with that. One thing I am catching on though is this river. That's the river, which is way higher than that. So this needs to be its own probably mound, and then roll down and then roll up. A lot of up and down. Up, down, down, up. Yeah, we're gonna figure it out. Okay, we're gonna put this line in for now because it does get up there, and then this will just kind of keep going backwards here and growing higher. But I'm gonna think on this one for a while. I don't quite know what I want to do there yet. The general shape though, I do like. I like that a lot. For the next distraction project, I decided to just build out the base of our river here so that we can bring in the water. So we should be able to just get rid of this moss and it'll start flowing backwards, and then we could just grab a few water buckets, and I think it'll be easiest to start it from the top, coming all the way down, but we are over the mountain biome. It's probably gonna freeze. This river is a little bit deeper than our last one, so we are actually coming through and making it 2 blocks deep, and it's a lot wider. And there's the ice. And with these last few blocks of dirt in here, we can darken another part of the landscape underneath. With that filled in up here, I need to focus on my main goal today, which was not at all of the last 18 hours of distracted building that we've been doing. Oops. I wanted to stretch my custom terrain further east, going out this direction to really focus on this base hilly region instead of just having like the flat line of where it all ended. Kind of to bring it kind of that way, not that way. But you know what? We did that, so that's fine. Can't complain about building a mountain. Just did a quick round repairing my elytra yet again. Wow, look at me where the skeletons there are. Of course that happens right as I leave. Well, I gotta go back now. Always feels good. Always feels good. Okay, now we can get back to work. One problem beyond the wings is I've now cleared 14 shulker boxes in this new round of building. All of these are empty, but cool part, I've now placed 90,480 blocks on this landscape. I've just got to actually fill all of these back up again. First up here, hopefully we have some moss, and we've got plenty. Let's grab 3 shulker boxes for now. A quick stop down into the quarry for another 4 shulker boxes of stone. That is starting to look very impressive. With these, we should have plenty. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Right. Okay, these are just going to the dirt count. Empty boxes for dirt, and the moss is out too. The moss is out too. Great. Well, I guess we got 4 boxes of each. Thought I'd have plenty more, and we got 9 boxes of dirt to fill up. I may have sounded kind of annoyed, but overall, I'm actually really satisfied with how this project is coming together. It is a massive one, but I get that happy Minecraft builder feeling already when I take a look at what we've done, and we're still only in stage 1. Not even done with that. Oh my god. Okay. Hated that. I don't know how it didn't pop a totem there, but oh my god, I'm happy to be alive. Oh, a pig's on our mountain now. With all the dirt gathered and me still alive, I decided to get back into building the new landscape. So I booted up my live stream, put 2 hours on the clock, and started moving east, placing in a ton of dirt and building out a new cliff structure. Base shapes are in place, and I decided to add in all of the dirt to kind of connect everything together. I'm finding that adding in those big elements first helps, then I just have to fill in the blanks and make it all up from there. There's no real big plan here behind what I'm doing, or there's a bit of a general one. But it's more of just place a few things in, take a look back, see if I like it, and then if we do, we continue on to the next section. Sometimes, however, I am going back over what I've already created to redo some sections or just tear out lines in general of our dirt to change the slope or angle completely that it's going up at, as I might find a better idea while I'm working, and I want to free myself up to not be stuck with what I've already done. After the first few big decisions are in, I can just fly through and place in all of the rest of the blocks to finish off the section, where we now have this, and I am a very happy fWhipper yet again, seeing everything we've put together. Down here at ground level, seeing it all up there just growing behind, it's so impressive. I just keep saying I'm at a loss for words when I'm here in game. It's so fun. Look at how far up into the distance our landscape is already going. That's 2 rockets to reach the top of it, and it's going even further. That's more or less just a line straight back here. I am getting a little worried about what's going on down there. There's a light spot. What did I miss? No. Only eternal darkness and despair down underneath the terrain. Come on. Let's patch that in. Much better. Much better. I've now put in well over 50 hours to expanding this landscape, and we still have a lot of space to go there behind us. But with 5 more shulker boxes cleared out, our total is now 99,180 blocks placed. Give or take a few. If you want to help me grow this project even further, please subscribe, as it'll add another 25 blocks to the total required, and I'm catching up quick. Leave a like if you did enjoy, and let me know what ideas you want to see added into this project. But with that, my friends, I'll catch y'all on the fWhip side. Yeah, nailed it.